Hi, everyone. Hey, we're going to show you my notebook for a minute. We're going to talk about yours. So my architectural notebook looks like this. And this is rough draft, okay? So I've got some notes from our discussions. I've got some information about, insulations, walls, center lines, line types, etc. I've got some notes about concept sketching and what it means to, the bubble drawings we do, and then how those relate to other things. I've got some notes on single line drawings. In fact, this is my cabin we did way back when. And it's got some notes on there and shows me what sizes and things I'm looking at. And I kind of figure out wall thicknesses and throw them on there just so I can see what it's really going to do to my building. This is all just done with a straight edge of my pencil, a notebook. It doesn't matter what kind of paper you have. You can do lined paper, you can do blank paper, you can do copy paper, whatever works for you. Just keep it all so you can use it as you need it. Like there's my front elevation I sketched out. This is a cross section as I was thinking about how it's going to sit on the hillside when we're doing that. And then here's the property plan I was looking at for a piece of property that's going to go on it. I note the north. I kind of figure out the contours. I figure out bushes, trees, etc. Yours doesn't have to be this complex right now, but as we get going, we'll get there. There's some of my notes on our discussion about townships and ranges and things, wall sections. We'll be coming back to visit this, by the way. So if you don't have it in your notes, you'll want to look for it on the Canvas course and draw it. Same with this. This is my rough notes for that. But then I went to our Habitat for Humanity, got the bubble sketch in there, got the single line, put the requirements up there, and then did some doodles on the floor plan, the elevations, what it should look like, and then how it should sit on the property as well. So as I'm working through that, I came up to our final project and threw out some ideas first. How big should a bedroom be? How big is too big? I started throwing out some ideas, thinking about it, what's going to go in it. This is that stuff I've asked you guys and girls to do. Look up what's your goals? Like, what's your current idea? So you know what your budget's going to be, what you're going to be working with. From there, I went in and started laying out some more stuff for my notes for a final. But then I started on this. This is my design. This is where I started thinking. Now, I actually started with this. This is my front elevation. And I know, looking at it, this is a ranch rambler. But for most of the areas around here, because this is, like I said, Cedar City, Iron County area, this is what we're going to see. I'd love to get fancier. I'd love to have some more design, but I've got to do some more thinking before I can go that far. But for right now, this is basically a ranch rambler. I used this and started figuring out, well, what do I want? How do I want my rooms arranged behind it? Made some notes on it. Figured out down here, estimations on size and space, how much it'll cost. I used $125 per square foot as my base. I need to go look up real numbers to find out if that's going to work, because at that point, my two estimations are about $200,000 to $230,000 to build this. That does not include property. From there, I'm going to go to my next portion here, and I'm going to start thinking about what I really want it to look like. And I'm going to doodle out here. I'm going to sketch. I'm going to do some figuring. So as I'm looking at this, and one of your first assignments is in your notebook to start sketching out ideas. So I'm literally going to sketch like doors, windows. If I want a porch, what do I want the columns to look like? Those kind of things. So as I'm doing this, I'm going to literally go in here and sketch, and I'm going to literally think and doodle all at the same time. So if I'm doodling, it's going to be something like this. Like I like some of the older, let's actually go down here and set a baseline. I have no problem with using tools. We all use them and we should. Okay. I'll throw up a straight line there so I've got a basic straight edge to work off of. And then say, okay, if that's going to be my foundation, I'm going to definitely want, or the base, my porch area. I like the old stacked brick look for the columns that then come up and have, and yeah, I'm using a pen here. You don't have to use a pen. And then put some sort of a pediment on top of it, and then have, going up here to the top of it. I'm just going to draw a line straight up here, mark spot. Put that in the middle. Maybe do something like this at the top. Have the stacked colonnade piece going up here before it hits the header, and maybe come off this back down to right there. Maybe come off this back down right there. Put the raised panel in it. I am thinking through what I would like to see, how I'd like this thing to appear in the end. And I'm just thinking through like column structures If I want brick here, I'll estimate how big a brick would be. Lay out the lines for that. Maybe come back in here and go like this and mark in my brick. Maybe come in here and start figuring out, well, this is going to definitely have shadow across it. And depending on what's going on, you know, it will probably be deeper over here. This would definitely get some sort of a shadow on it, depending on, well, given where the light would have to be for that. It's going to be there. I'm not really worried about depth. I'm adding some shadows just so I can see where they'd fall. I'm not actually adding any depth to this. I'm not trying to project into the third dimension. I am darkening up some lines, and that's actually going to give the effect of depth. But as I'm doing this, I'm thinking it through. If I need to, I will have no problem grabbing a straight edge and coming in here and going, okay, that definitely needs to be much straighter than it is. And I'll clean that up. Maybe add some give me a look that I'm looking for. Maybe try to thicken up those mortar beds on the brickwork here, because it's going to look, you know, like actual brick, I hope, in the end. But I'll spend some time, maybe come out here and add the thicknesses out here. And notice how I'm stopping. That's where the brick will protrude from the mortar beds. So I'll actually kind of cheat it a little bit, make it thicker one spot, not the other spot. Come back in here, thicken up that mortar bed. Okay. Over here, do the same thing, make it a little thicker there and maybe there. So it's going to show where my mortar beds are going to fall. My striping. Do I like this or not? And I'm going to doodle out all the details for my house. I'm thinking, what do I want the porch to look like? I'm thinking outside inward. So as you're doing this, that's what I expect you to do. In your notebook, your first assignment is to envision this dream house on a budget. Go back to here. Get back over that page. I figured out roughly what my affordable budget would be. Now, you're going to want to use some tools. You can go on to like state banks, online stuff, various places. You can look up a mortgage calculator. And basically, I'm looking at, say, a $200,000 home, okay? And if I run the numbers on it, and this is not a good calculator to do it on because I don't have the right logarithm programmed in, I can figure out that if that home, when you pay it off, here's the bad part. When you pay it off, you're going to end up paying roughly what equates to double its actual value. Okay, this is how mortgages work if you go like a 30-year loan. Now, I don't have the rough actual numbers, the current mortgage rates and stuff, that varies. But basically, if I have a $200,000 home, I can figure it's going to cost me about $400,000 to pay it off if I go with the full loan time. That is, say, 30 years. Okay, so I've got basically 400,000. So if I take 30 years times 12, that's going to give me 360 payments. Okay, so if I take my number here and divide it by 360 payments, I'm looking at about $1,100 a month payment. Okay, that doesn't take in if I have to do like mortgage insurance. That doesn't take in things like, that doesn't take in hardly anything extra. That doesn't even take in the property on this cost right now. Okay, so as I'm looking at this, those are the kind of numbers I'm keeping in my head. I do have to, like I said, I keep numbers in my head. I think graphically, but then I make notes for myself as I work. I don't care how you do it. Everybody functions a little differently, but you do need to have some visualization practice. And that's where this portion comes in. You do have to think about how your rooms need to lay out next to each other. And that's where the bubble drawings and the box drawings come in. We want you to spend some quality time thinking through those things. And absolutely, let me go back to the right spot here. I go up here to my earlier spots in my notebook. Gentlemen, ladies, I am going to have you think through, and you will be making a cross section of your actual design. Like that's for our cabin way back when. I want you to think through all that stuff. We're going to have you figure out a property that will actually fit on, how it's going to fit on there. And this is literally part of our state core. You have to know every member and part in it. And this is just a sketch. This isn't the whole thing. This is just me thinking a little bit about how I want this thing to go out. Things that you want to watch out for. like some of you like high pitched roofs. Well, if you're not going to live under the roof, how high of a pitch do I want? That's the things you're thinking as you're making these designs. What do you want the roof to look like? What shape do I like? Do I like a gable or a gambrel? Do I like a hip or a Dutch hip? Do I like a mansard? Um, you're getting the picture, I'm sure. So think through, make your designs, and that's the first couple things we're doing. I want you to figure out your budget, which you should already have access to. And then I want you to start sketching, and this will be our next assignment, is for you guys after the budgeting to start in on the sketching. Okay? Now, I'm going to leave you to this. I'm going to do some more sketching. I'll probably video it so you can see the demos, what I'm working on, and then get it back to you guys and girls. Those of you that don't have access to a CAD system at home, or your computer won't run AutoCAD or Google, or excuse me, or like ArchiCAD or Revit, there is an online version of SketchUp. SketchUp, you'll log into it. I would use my school, Iron School's email, and I would access it through that. Okay, here's why. It'll save your stuff online. It'll be totally on the web. I have a Chromebook at home that my kids use all the time. I have tested it with this. So when we get to the drawing portion, you'll be ready to go. While we're getting there, because you'll have some time, I will hopefully upload some tutorials on SketchUp, but I would like you to go play in SketchUp a little bit before we get there if we have to do that part. And so you know what you're up against. SketchUp is a very useful tool used by a lot of engineers and architects, especially for early design phases, which is basically where we're going to be. But you want to be familiar with it. It's literally you draw a shape and then you stretch it. It's like playing with Play-Doh, okay, but virtually. So take your time. We'll show you the videos on that as they come up. Good luck. Have fun.